Bidenomics is so great that Americans aren't living paycheck to paycheck anymore. They're living pawn shop to pawn shop. And now is Seth Gold, owner of American Jewelry and Loan. And you know him from the reality show Hardcore Pawn. Les, great to see you.
Let's welcome Les, Seth, and Ashley from True TV's Hardcore Pawn.
Fans may have thought Hardcore Pawn was just for entertainment, but the real cost wasn't that of the jewelry. It was the lives of the people. The behind-the-scenes tragedies that surrounded its members ranged from deaths to illnesses that caused more than just a withdrawal of service. Before we continue, would you still love Hardcore Pawn the same after hearing these 10 shocking facts about it? And what other factors caused some of the mishaps they faced? Join us as we unveil the tragedies that befell these Pawn Stars members. Number 10. Karen Mitchell. Karen stood out as one of the franchise's most beloved characters. Her jovial presence often diffused the tension that was native to the pawn shop. However, behind the scenes, her smile wasn't always as bright as she battled various personal problems, which eventually led to serious health concerns, which caused her to gradually pull away from the cameras and store. It was just a matter of time till her fans felt her absence. Then, in 2020, heartbreaking news spread across. Karen had passed away after another illness episode. It left not just her fan community devastated, but also that of the Hardcore Pawn show. It was a nightmare for all who her bright-as-the-sun persona had influenced. Karen's situation was just one of the several hits this massive show took. Right behind the limelights, another pivotal member suffered the same fate. Number 9. Bobby Janiac. Another behind-the-scenes character who slowly pulled away from the limelight was Bobby Janiac. He was the type of person who worked quietly in the background, pulling strings out of the camera's view. It was said that when a customer walked out with more money than they came in with, they had passed through Bobby the Janiac's hands. But even with his limited screen time, it was clear something was off. His heart was somewhere far from the pawn shop. His passion and ambitions were rooted in another field, one that didn't involve juggling the finances of one of the biggest jewelry institutions in the country. Eventually, he stepped away and chased that dream. It was a personal win for him, but fans still felt the loss. They missed seeing him ease into the spotlight little by little, only for him to suddenly vanish. Bob's new venture, however, was short-lived. In 2018, he fell ill after suffering a stroke. The irony wasn't lost on fans. A man known for being proactive and always on point was now forced to slow down, taking life one step at a time, as he fought his way back from the sickbed to strength. Unfortunately, even the much older members were affected by fate's twist. Number 8. Les Gold. At the forefront of the pawn shop sat Les Gold, patriarch of the Gold family and the undeniable foundation of the pawn world.
We'll bring you interviews with the Gold family, one of my favorite families.
Like any process in the shop, Les' life in this line started from scratch. He was what it meant to be a pawn, and quite literally built his life surrounding the business and culture of the family. He spent most of his time since childhood in his grandfather's pawn shop.
My first sale at 7 years old when I worked for my grandfather on Skid Row.
A place filled with unique items and collectibles. Looking back, it was probably what built his persona. After working his socks off on this path, the show Hardcore Pawn premiered in 2009 and ran for 9 seasons. As the show gained popularity, rumors began circulating. Fans began speculating that some scenes were staged, among other criticisms. Then, in early 2019, that pressure, mixed with years of stress, finally broke him down. The criticism built, and it ended in a heart attack. It first started off as minor chest pain, until he was finally rushed to healthcare facilities. It was later confirmed he had suffered a heart attack, one that became the defining reason why he had to pull out of the show eventually. It was shocking and sad, especially for a character the audience had grown to love so much. Les wasn't the only Gold member hit with tragedy. In fact, his tragedy directly affected the lives of those around him. His son, with whom he built this empire, was sure to bear some sort of grunt. Number 7. Seth Gold. From the very first season, Seth Gold was more than just a team member. He was Les Gold's son and one of the leading figures of the franchise. In soccer terms, Seth was like the regista, a playmaker behind the scenes, while his father, Les, took the bold, ambitious front-line role. Seth was the one keeping things running. He was the schedule guy.
If you want things done quickly, you ask Ashley. If you want things done correctly, you ask me. And as long as we understand that, things will go smoothly.
The organizer, the problem anticipator. His relentless dedication was rooted in one thing: the desire to make his father proud. He was so locked in, so focused on preventing problems before they even surfaced. You could say that he pretty much carried off the show's pressure on his own shoulders. His father was ambitious, and whilst he pushed the show forward, Seth quietly held its structure together. But this drive came with a cost. As the show grew, the behind-the-scenes workload grew with it. Seth was forced to retreat from the screen, his presence growing less and less as he was too busy keeping the entire operation functioning. For fans, it was a quiet tragedy. One of the main characters slowly fading out. Deadlines weren't his only battle. In 2019, while riding his motorbike, he was involved in a deadly accident that left him hospitalized and bedridden. What followed was a slow, painful journey of learning to walk again step by step, the same way he had carried the show, quietly, determined, and always pushing forward. Much like Seth, another structure-loving member was forced to exit the show, but thankfully, it wasn't due to a near-death experience, but a story of a withering friendship. Number 6. Rich Pyle. Rich oversaw the entire business operations at the Detroit pawn shop. In this franchise, his and Les's relationship was one of the building blocks of the pawn shop's success. Rich's eyes were known to be one of his greatest strengths, as he was a relentless manager in charge of handling the affairs that went on in the shop. He kept things organized in every ordeal, and although he wasn't the loudest on the show, he was known as one of the most reliable. He was not only known for his eyes, but for his brain, too. Behind the scenes, his relationship with Les wasn't just one of co-workership. It was one of friendship and a true brotherly bond. They went through almost everything together, managing the affairs of the pawn shop for 25 years, working side by side, and going through the thick and thin of running a pawn business in Detroit. In 2012, something terrible happened between him and Les. This caused Rich to slowly pull back from screen time, leaving all fans worried. He kept things private and didn't even inform his family of the recent poor developments. The few times he came on air, fans noticed how his once abundant humor had started to diminish, and with time, they noticed one of their favorite characters probably wasn't in love with the environment anymore. Still, Rich knew he was falling out of love with co-working in the pawn shop with Les, and kept it a secret. This friendship ended, and perhaps as evidence of the bad omens, these didn't just stop with the core members of the show. Even spin-off characters were touched, and you're still in for a shocking surprise at number 1. Number 5. Carlos Deals. Carlos was one of the main characters of the Chicago spin-off of Hardcore Pawn. He was known for his bold personality and steadfastness when confronting conflict, whether it meant challenging his boss's actions or dealing with a problematic customer. Carlos was always at the forefront of dangerous situations. He was almost always seen at his post or nearby, protecting the peace of the pawn shop. Behind the scenes and off stage, he was a family man in all situations. This was one of the reasons he later quit his job in the series. As he said, the pay he received was nowhere near enough for the daily dangers he faced while defending the pawn shop. After he quit, tragedy struck. One day, he went missing and he was later found unresponsive in his home. Words were lost at the tragedy as the once strong and hyper bodyguard was found lifeless. Nobody could believe it because he was the last person anyone expected to lose in such a manner. In 2014, when fans of the Chicago spin-off heard the news, They were crushed. They could not believe they were witnessing the passing of the 44-year-old Carlos, gone not just from their screens, but from their lives. A sad reminder that behind the drama these cast faced on TV, real lives were being lived daily. Carlos at number 5 was not the end of these tragedies. Another member's story ended in heartbreak, especially for the fans. Number 4. Carl Bell. This was definitely a heartbreaking moment for fans who were quick to pick favorite among the cast who appeared in the show's spin-off. Employee Carl was known as a funny employee who always joked with coworkers and customers alike. His personality was truly a joy for fans, who loved someone so free-spirited and full of life. It was no surprise that his character gained popularity among a certain segment of the fan base. This recognizable character's life was soon touched by tragedy, as the gambling he meddled in finally caught up with him. He was an avid gambler behind the scenes, a trait no responsible person, let alone an employee, should possess. Despite his whimsy and good graces, his luck finally ran out. In 2014, he was arrested and charged with felony theft. He had stolen more than $40,000 worth of merchandise from the very pawn shop that had trusted him. For his employers, fans, and co-workers, it was a betrayal. For the fans, it was an abomination and a devastating blow to one of their favorite TV shows. He was immediately removed from his duties in the pawn shop and from screen time, putting a serious dent in his once jovial personality. Stealing artifacts to feed his gambling addiction was a heinous crime. It was one on such a scale that no one could initially imagine. Of course, he had a partner in crime, and it's going to shock you. Number 3. Jeremy Jackson. Former shop employee Jeremy Jackson didn't expect his time in the limelight to be so short-lived or so bumpy. Saying he didn't expect it makes it sound like he was a victim when, in fact, he was the architect of his own downfall. Investigators discovered he was deeply tied to the same theft scheme that had roped in Carl Bell. Another bombshell moment for everyone to see. He was a part-time worker and wasn't a significant part of the show, which led to low fan popularity. Yet he was still a presence, making waves whenever he appeared. The biggest waves came from the red flag moments. Instances where everyone asked themselves why a part-time worker had such high-value artifacts to pawn. It was absurd, and suspicion began to grow around him. Soon, authorities connected him to the same felony theft case that had brought down his co-worker. He had joined Carl in using stolen items and cash to fund their crippling gambling addictions behind the scenes. His arrest shocked fans, as this unassuming, not-so-intimidating character became a stark reminder that anyone, no matter how ordinary they seem, can harbor dangerous tendencies. But still, not every exit was the result of crime. Some were the result of stupid mistakes, and maybe, yes, crime. Number 2. Christina Silas. Back in Detroit, she was the one who kept the shop running smoothly as a window clerk. Although she wasn't always in the limelight, she was essential to the operation of the pawn shop behind the scenes. Without her, there wouldn't even be a pawn shop, let alone a hardcore pawn show. She handled paperwork, managed countless customer interactions, and kept the shop functioning. Fans may not have seen her at the center of every fight or drama, but they knew Christina's importance to the business was undeniable. In Season 8 of the original series, Christina was caught doing something that shocked viewers. She was caught on camera stealing. The footage stunned fans worldwide. For many, it was a betrayal, especially for those who had rooted for her over the years. It was an action that completely contradicted how she had been portrayed until that moment. Les Gold made it clear that stealing was one of the most unforgivable things an employee could do. He addressed the situation publicly in front of everyone, and for fans watching live on the broadcast. Disbelief was everywhere, as this trusted team member was exposed for her wrongdoing. Les didn't hesitate. He called the police, and Christina was arrested on the spot, live for all the fans to see. This moment became one of the most shocking and unforgettable events in the show's history. As seen from these previous employees, not only death and illness befell the franchise, but betrayal and shocking downfalls. But was there really comic relief in the 9-year life of this series? Number 1. Darren McCarthy. Perhaps the most unexpected entry and exit of them all. No one expected to see National Hockey League legend Darren McCarthy star in the Pawn Shop show, especially in the manner in which he did. If anyone at all predicted this outcome, no one would have expected to see him star in the series behind the counter as an attendance employee, especially for a man who was popularly known as the enforcer for one of the NHL's biggest teams, the Detroit Red Wings. Darren shocked not only his fans, but the world when he appeared in Hardcore Pawn Shop to sell artifacts and taxidermied animals, a true sight to behold, and perhaps a much-needed relief from all that transpired in both the main and spin-off sections of the series. Fans were eager to see how he would react to the toughs and tussles in the pawn shop, but were soon disappointed when his stay was very short-lived. He soon returned to his life outside pawnbroking. And just as the opportunistic Les Gold was quick to employ the star, he was quick to let him go. How has Les Gold managed to maintain a strong fan base in spite of the numerous dramas in his series? Was this drama necessary to the success of this reality series? Share your thoughts with us in the comments section. Remember to like, share, and subscribe for more. Also, click the next video showing on your screen. You will enjoy it.